and welcome back to the Dreamcast. I am your host, Denise Walsh. I combine science, scripture, and stories that will inspire you to dive deep, break through your own personal glass ceiling, and design a life of your dreams. Do you feel like you've not been able to make headway in achieving your goals? Or did you start the year pumped, ready to move forward on making things happen and simply lost your way? Things don't need to just get better. They actually can be better. In Design Your Dream Life, I'll show you a proven pathway to take you from where you are now to a life filled with joy, wholeness, success, and fulfillment. I'll give you the keys to not just developing a plan, but taking massive empowered action to make your dreams a reality. Turn roadblocks into stepping stones and leverage the power of gratitude and forgiveness. Let's face it, taking massive empowered action and making your dreams a reality isn't always easy. So I'll be there with you every step of the way. Visit dreamlifetoolkit.com to purchase your copy of Design Your Dream Life, obtain resources, and join our free community. Again, that's dreamlifetoolkit.com. Big welcome back to the Dreamcast. Our next guest is a renowned digital sales and marketing strategist. She's a certified business coach and a mentor to emerging entrepreneurs. She's also a keynote speaker, the host of a Christian CEO podcast, and the author of the Amazon bestseller, A Little Girl Called Grace. You know what? She doesn't stop there. She's also the founder of the Christian CEO University. You guys, I'm so excited to hear her story and pick her brain because she has not my guess is if we were to ask her as a little girl if she would have expected such great success and impact in the world, she might not have dreamed this up herself. She comes from a humble background and has overcome insurmountable odds since her childhood to achieve the success she enjoys today. And this includes surviving sexual abuse at her teens for over a decade, overcoming cultural male-dominated corporate careers, to countless objections in the entrepreneurial journey. Because of her non-English accent. Interesting. She has coached and consulted purpose-driven entrepreneurs for over 5 continents. And you know what? She's taken her situation and she has decided that God had something better for her, and she stepped into who God created her to be. So big Dreamcast welcome to Kelly Baader.
Thank you, Denise.
Oh my goodness. You're not only a rock star today, but it didn't always start out like that. So I have to ask you, if you were to look at that little girl and see how far you've come, would you have expected this for yourself?
Obviously, it's not. I still remember for those years that my single mother and me and then her mother as a grandma, that when she moved from place to place because she did not have money to pay rent, and we often slept on the floor. And I often, pick out the window and see other people's family. And I was wondering that how can I be part of that kind of better life.
Where did you grow up?
Taiwan.
Okay.
Taiwan, yeah. And so the story, to cut it very short, if you guys want a whole one, you had to go to get a book. So I was born and raised in a place and time that when baby girls were not valued much. When, baby boys were born, they were given a piece of gold. And when the baby girls were born, we get a basket of eggs. So that just kind of tell you that how they value us. No need to invest as anything, especially education. And so growing up, that there was over 1.5 decades of my life that I never know what's going to happen in the night to me because my mother and her drunken boyfriends. And through those struggling, I knew education was my only way out. So education system then there, even today, it's very competitive. We're talking about 1 against 3,800 people. You can get to the top 3 girls senior high school. And then from there, you have a chance to get another exam that maybe you can go to university. And so I did that. I got into the university and got a job. But in that chaotic family situation, I couldn't wait fast enough to get out of my mother's place. In Asia, it's very common that before you got married, you stay with parents because, first of all, real estate is super, super expensive. So it's a little bit different than in US or in other Western countries. But then because of that, I fell into the wrong marriage. I walking with blind-eyed, and so I walk out heavily wounded. And that's where I found Christ, because somebody at work brought me to a local church. At that moment in Taiwan, we only had 2% of population were Christians. So if you want to become a Christian, we kind of become the alien of the society. And I remember that my mother disowned me because I want to become a Christian. Because in the family, a lot of people, they are Buddhists, they are Taoism, or different kinds of things, and they worship idols. So my mom asked me, what does that mean if you want to get baptized? I said, well, that means I can no longer worship the idols with you. I cannot bow to those idols, including our ancestors. And then, so she was very angry, and then she kicked me out of the house. And then in the corporate world, I was determined to succeed. I guess when you are in that kind of situation, that you have two ways, right? One is you just let go and through the darkness, and the other way is you climb. You try to climb. And in those like 70s, 80s, it's just in that society that male is dominated in the corporate world. And I remember, there's a movie, American movie called Hidden Figures, right? Hidden Figures, it's those, the dear African Americans, the ladies, they are real hero behind the NASA that launched the shuttle. And Catherine, the main actress, that she had to run blocks away to go to the ladies' room. And when I was watching that movie, I had my tears because I remember so often when I went to a board meeting, because I was the only female executive, so there was no ladies' room on that floor. And I had to go down to other floors to ladies' room. So that thing is real, And through that, and by God's grace, after I become a Christian, and I got married again 20-something years ago. And, it's a different kind of challenge. So because my husband is Swiss, and then we also in the hospitality industry. So then, the hotels, the Ritz-Carlton, Grand Hyatt move us over 3 continents and 3 states in USA plus Jamaica. And I figured that so USA is our second home because we lived there over 10 years. But when we moved there the first time, and I went to church, local church, and I felt there's like a cultural shock in a way of it's the level, the how do I say this? The desire for God, the very different feeling. Through the years, my mentor and I, we support some people, missionary in the front land, or especially women's underground churches. The summer places, they literally have to get up 3-4 o'clock in the morning and go to the cave in order to read the Bible and worship the Lord. But here, or let's say that moment, US, if it's raining, people are not showing up. So for me, it's very different. It's just very different. But through my love for the people, so I know I have a similar mentor with Denise, with John Maxwell. I was his first batch of certified coach and speakers, and also with ICF, because I figure coaching can help people to reactivate the greatness inside of them. And that is what I've been doing officially from 2008 till now. My virtual business with people to help them to build up their impactful business. And in last 3-4 years, God say my season now is to focus on the Christian entrepreneurs. So that's what I'm doing now.
Oh my goodness. So you really had a life of oppression for quite a while, not only in the family situation, but then when you got into the working world, there's still this glass ceiling or this oppression that says, not good enough all of the time. And I feel like what you said is you always have a choice, and you can either let go and believe that and just say, screw it all. I give up. I'm not even going to try. I'm just gonna follow the current. Or you can climb and you can say, no, I've got a lot more to offer than that. Nope, I'm not going to accept this as status quo. Nope, you know what? I know that I'm here for a reason, and I've got a lot to add to the world. Do you remember a time when you felt that spark inside that said, I'm not going to allow or accept this norm. I'm going to go create my own path?
First of all, I would love to say it would be awesome if every time I hit bottom and or challenges, I will say, no, I need to fight. I will not give up. I would love to say that that's me. Well, that would be a lie.
It's easier said than done in the moment, isn't it?
Exactly. There's a moment that I feel like, okay, I guess this is not for me. So because I want to be real here, I don't want that your audience here say, okay, she must be superwoman or something. And I think there are many moments have those kind of spark. I would say maybe one of the first one is when I was in university. I was a part of a choir, and our university was very known of the choir. They're always like number one in the nation. And in my last year, about to graduate, and we had important concert in the National Hall, which all the influential people, including the president and the nation, and everybody will be there. And my coach came to me and said, Kelly, this year I want you to sing solo in that solo part. And I right away say no. I say, listen, I gave her 5 names, at least other girls. I say, those people, they can sing much better than me. And, I just think I'm not qualified because the I did not have any self-value, And I remember she say, Kelly, listen, this is the last year of the school. And I think it's your time to shine. Because when you give out, it's not just your voice, but your presence will encourage other people to do the same. Otherwise, you are too selfish. And I remember the young self, when I heard, I did not really pay attention to what she said, but when the moment she said, I am too selfish, I thought, how can she say that to me, And because we thought that if I get opportunity to other people, so that's selfless, isn't it? A lot of time we think that way. So anyhow, she's a teacher, I'm a student, so did not have choice. I agreed to do it. I remember that day, behind the curtain, before the curtain went up, and then she came to me again. She said, remember, don't be selfish. Go out there and help other people shine. Instead of say, make sure you sing your part right. Right? So when the curtain was up, I looked around over 5,000 people, and I gave my all. I got the standing ovation. Then that moment, I realized that exactly that what she said. Whenever we were giving a platform, any different kinds, can be you are parents to your children, can be, you are doing a little workshop. It doesn't matter the size of the stage or the platforms, anything. If you were given that platform, that means God has trusted you that you have ability to impact lives that moment, one way or the other. And because that moment, if we don't do our thing, that moment it's selfish. It's a false humility. It's not a real humility. I don't know. I know I answered a little bit long. I don't know. Does this help, Denise?
Yes. Oh my goodness. So I'm hearing a few things. I hear you had others believe in you before you believed in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's it's a key. The reality is most of us need other people to speak into our dreams or see ourselves 3 steps ahead of where we see ourselves, because they're speaking that life into us. And so you had a mentor, a teacher believe in you before you believed in yourself and gave you that stage. And then she said, shine, girl. Shine, girl, shine. Because when you show up and you shine, you give others the permission to do so as well. And I think, again, that's really thoughtful. The false humility makes me think, you're right. So many times we think, well, I'll be small to give them the room. But
Mm-hmm.
really, when we shine and when we step fully into ourselves and our gifts, that's giving other people the permission to do the same. And that's even more powerful than the first option. So I love that. I love that. And I'm sure she wasn't the only mentor of somebody who believed in you even before you believed in yourself. Do you have another story of when you kind of dug deep and said yes, even though you were a bit scared?
I would say maybe the most recent one now came to mind. It's Chris Ducker. And Chris, if you're listening to this, we're going to charge you commission, by the way, just you know. Chris Ducker is a dear friend and mentor. And if you guys don't know Chris Ducker, check him out, youpreneur.com or chrisducker.com. He's a serial entrepreneur. And I remember last year, his annual signature event in London, and it's a very cool event, cool location. It's in the QE2, it's a Queen Elizabeth II conference place. So it's like the place for the conference. And then he asked me, the conference was in November, and he asked me in July, said, Kelly, I would like you to speak on my event. Now, here's the thing. All his other speakers, okay, it's not the moment I try to look down myself. I mean, all other speakers will talk about, the A-list of people we know, people have ever been on his stage, is Amy Porterfield, Peg Flynn, and yada, yada. I mean, there's a line of people, right? And so I look at him, we sit down in the coffee, and then he looked at me. I say, Chris, hold on. Are you just being too nice to me? So you want to give me this opportunity? And I remember he looked back and with stern eyes, he said, listen, girl, as much as I love you to pieces, that is my signature event. Do you think I will let anybody ruin my signature event? So that was the very behind the scenes story. Then when the day came, it's a bit nerve-wracking because from the morning we have the awesome Kerry Wilkinson open the keynote and all the way to and my spot was afternoon. And as you know, after lunchtime, the spot is not easy because people, they got their lunch and sleepy and stuff. And also that day, we did not know why, the audience is rather cold. It's not very, we feel like we're not warm up and stuff. Nobody really standing up, clap and stuff like that. But I went up, and 10 minutes in, we got the first laugh of the day. And after finish, and I got the first standing ovation. But the key point is not that though. The stage light was so bright, I couldn't see people's face. But the moment I went down the stairs, I started to see That's 300 something people. Most of them are crying, were crying. And it's a business event, and it's purely business content. The power of one framework. How it's about what's the number one solution you can give to your number one client, so they can have a number one outcome by the best current version of you. All through the way, it's about business strategy mindset. Only in the end, about 30 seconds, I share my story of if I can do it, and so do you. And that is another example of, because Chris see that I can do it. And he saw already ahead that if I share that message, that people will be inspired and take action as well.
Yeah.
And that's also part of the reason why I wanna become a coach, because that's what I will do day in and day out, just like my vocal coach years ago, right? To activate people with greatness inside, and then they can go on to create that impactful business.
Wow. I can imagine the nerves on a day like that, sharing the stage with such big names, people you've looked up to and learned from for years, and then to go out and have such a positive response from the audience. What do you think it was about what you shared that connected with people in the room?
I think in the first of all, I am personal face. So before I went on stage, I think I had 25 people behind the scene praying, and then asked me, "What do you want us to pray?" I said, "There's only one thing I want you to pray, that when I'm on that stage, that's a non-Christian event, right? So, but I want the people will experience God's love." So the whole presentation is a business. It's about money, it's about strategy. But in the last 30 seconds, I say, if you are looking at a girl who was stripped away all her dignity because over 1.5 decades of sexual abuse, and then when she finally climbed the ladder in the corporate world, there was no ladies' room for her. When she became an entrepreneur, they are very well-known coach. If I gonna mention the name, everybody know who he is. He told me that you cannot have enough clients, and you can forget about your podcast because you are not American nor British, because you are not native English speakers. And I close with, but look at where I'm standing now. I'm standing in the London, in Britain, at the Elizabeth conference place. And that people just went crazy.
Yes.
But personally, I was touched by especially men. I think a lot of time women, we're easier to reach out, women to women, and emotional. But I was touched to see men, because sometimes I think men got, compressed down their emotion and things. But they came one after the other, say they so appreciate that message.
I want to get into the power of one, because I know that will help all of the entrepreneurs listening on the call. But I think what's so powerful about what you shared is that you're on stage. People know you're successful, right? You're the one that's sharing strategy, and you're an expert in the field, and you're sharing what you've learned over decades of experience. And so they know how awesome you are, right? What you were able to do was bring the humanity back into it and say, yeah, cool. But you know how far I've come and what I've been able to overcome. And you touched on what a lot of people deal with, which is imposter syndrome. Most of us show up and we go, who am I to do this? I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm not sure. And you kind of said, you leveled the playing field out. And I feel like that's where that belief comes from, because they said, if Kelly can do it, we can do it. And that's where that hope and that spark is lit, because they feel like it's possible for them too. So, oh my goodness, I can imagine that room standing ovation, because it's less about the success and more about the journey to get there. And you gave them all hope that they could do it too. So tell us about the power of one. I want to hear a bit more about how this strategy you teach impacts entrepreneurs.
Well, I would love to say, I just totally create myself. I'm brilliant. Well, that would be a lie as well. So I figured that I just share a lot of behind the scenes secret with you guys today. This is another behind the scenes thing. So when Chris asked me to present, then I asked him, said, okay, so what do you want me to talk about? You have all those kind of experts, right? And then he said, well, just share one of the things it worked really well for you, just one idea. So when he said that, in behind my mind, I said, well, that shouldn't be difficult. Just share one idea. Next couple of weeks, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep well. As you know, we entrepreneurs have this problem called knowledge curse, right? We know so much, right? And so when he said, just share one idea, and I'm thinking, which one? Which one? And so I came to quite desperate. The deadline I need to submit my presentation, and in my morning devotion time, I stand in front of my flip chart and I ask God, say, listen, it's your fault because I didn't ask for speaking on that stage this fast. It's your fault. So you're going to tell me what you want me to talk about. And I start to write just one, O-N-E, one on the flip chart. And God said, that's it, one. I say, what about it? And then he started to say, think about all the entrepreneurs' problem, overwhelming, imposter syndrome, comparison game, formal, all those things, right? And then most of people out there teaching about business, the very first thing they say is, let's figure out your avatar first, right? And if that works, then why still people struggling? In my personal work with my clients, I also figure there is a common thread. It doesn't matter which stage they are. The moment they're gonna go to level up to the next stage, and they got stuck always. So I was asking God, say, why that? And God said, here's the thing. We need to, the approach we've been told wrong is, that's set a goal, that's a what, and then that's figure out how, the strategy system to do it. And we barely touch who we are and why we should be doing it, right? I want you guys to think about an image in your mind. So if there's a one horizontal line from left to right, okay, that means time, okay? And then the vertical line is the level, go all the way up, is the level of success, right? Will be awesome, just diagonal all the way up. As a time goal, our success just go all the way up, right? That's a fantasy. We all know that in between have a lot of squeaky line, right? The squeaky line in between the bottom, those points, we hit challenges. It means that moment we have to make decision. And the decision we make will decide whether we success or not, right? But the question is, based on what you are making that decision. That moment is not about the goal, is not about the strategy though. It's about who you are or who you aspire to become to make that decision. Therefore, the power of one framework, the first element one we need to deal with is the best current version of ourselves. And it's from there, because you and your ideal client or avatar, whatever you put that on, it's a mirroring process. Years ago, I was in Darren Hardy, the Success Magazine Chief Editor program. He said, Kelly, here's a story. Before I got married, I write down 30 items, 30 criteria, what kind of woman I want to marry to. Then next morning I walk out, I look at a piece of paper, and I have an epiphany moment. what kind of man that amazing woman will be willing to marry to. It's mirroring. People say, Kelly, why I don't attract the right client? The question is, well, what kind of service provider that ideal client will be attracted to? In the Bible, the kingdom principle is always start from within, not from outwardly. It's always from inside out. So I know I go on long, but I just want to share with you guys the 4 key areas you need to ask yourself how you steward. It's invisible areas. Your time, your energy, your space, your relationship. When I say about space, meaning your mental space. And so these 4 areas are super important. So outside a lot of productivity system, they tell, oh, just get things done, right? GTT. But that if that work, why so many people still not working out? And have you ever had a moment of you know exactly what you should be doing, but you cannot put yourself to do that thing, right? So that is why the Power One framework go to detail for that 4 areas. And that's coming up actually the signature program down the road in a couple months. But that the presentation, I think that speak deeply to the entrepreneurs everywhere, because they figure why that did not work for them if they approach it from outside in, not inside out.
Absolutely. Oh, that's beautiful. I often say, people will ask me all the time, what do you do? What do you do? Give me a script. How do you do it? You know, I always say it's less about what you do and more about who you be, because you can do, but again, you're not going to get the same results. I love that inside out approach, because when you're in alignment and you're feeling connected and you're overflowing with joy and you're living in your strength zone and you're really working on being the best version of you, then what you do will be much easier and you're going to get much better results. Now, you've mentioned a couple times activating people to kind of step into their best self. What are some ways you suggest that people activate within?
I think just like iPhone, if I ask you, say, what do you think, who knows iPhone the most? You probably say, well, obviously the creative team in Apple or Steve Jobs, right? In other words, is the creator of iPhone, right? So for me personally, that it's not possible that you can know yourself enough if you don't have connection with your creator. That's one. Because our identity and how just your human body, you know, the other thing I often say is your physiology is basically a prophecy of your productivity or your capacity. Because, for example, your the DNA, right? Each single adult human DNA, we have like 6.5 feet of DNA strand existing in 37.2 trillion cells. So if we're gonna bunch them all up, can be small as the ice cube, but we stretch it all out, they can literally distance can become from Earth to Sun, come and back for 70 times. And I can go on to tell you about our blood pumping system and also our your breathing capacity. All this is a proof to know that you have been created as a masterpiece, as what Bible says, Ephesians 2:10. It's not just sound good. No, you are literally, physically, scientifically, you are created as a masterpiece. So I think you need to start from self-awareness of this first, and then have a connection with God to know the truth. From there, then you will start to be activated. And just like Denise earlier said, we human were not created to live alone, right? Every single one of us only can thrive when we are in the environment where that's your mentor, that's your coach, that is your fellow like-minded people that they can pull you up, because when you fall, they can pull you up. When you are messing around, they can kick your butt, that kind of thing, right? Because we all need to be held accountable. Sometimes I read or heard somebody say they are self-made. That made me quench inside my heart, because nobody is self-made. Nobody. Because every single one of us in the journey, we need a lot of help. And then when you arrive a level, remember, stretch your hand out, give other people a hand to pull them up. Because each level, as you go, your ceiling will become your floor again before you go further. And I think that is how that you can get activated and start, continue to grow as well.
Have that connection with the creator, understand you really are a masterpiece and take care of yourself, and then surround yourself with people who speak that life into you and can hold you accountable. So a couple more questions. I have a question about Christian CEO. What is Christian CEO University, and tell me how all of that got started?
So it happened in my, I was about 2012 when we still live in Las Vegas, actually. And on my birthday in November, and I have a little ritual with God that on my birthday, I take communion. So it was 5 o'clock in the morning. I was downstairs, Bible open on the kitchen countertop. And suddenly I feel a strong presence behind my back. And I thought, well, that probably is my husband came downstairs to say happy birthday. Because the presence was so physical, feel so real. I turned around and there was nobody there. And then suddenly around my kitchen top, everything become blurry. The atmosphere become very warm. The only thing I can see still is my Bible. Everything blur out. Then I heard, that was first time I heard the audible voice from the Lord say, happy birthday, Kelly. And I knew I'm in big, big trouble. And I say, yes, thank you, Abba. And then he said, what do you want for your birthday? 3 weeks before that, my kids then was toddler age. As an egg of faith, we wrote a letter to God, and that have all different kind of items, all the way from our dishwasher need to get fixed, all the way to my mother's salvation. And now you probably know, if you listen podcast till now, you know that's a huge thing. My mother will become a Christian, right? So when he said, what do you want for your birthday? And I right away thought of that later. But then I thought, well, if this is the only time I can answer that question, I would like to think twice. And I said, well, God, this is going to sound cheesy. Is that if like he did not know what I'm going to say. Well, if you can give Solomon that wisdom, can I have that as well? Since the Bible says there's no respecter of person. And I sense he has a very big grin on his face. And he said, of course, you can have that. Oh, by the way, those things on that later, also granted. Within 3 weeks, every single thing, including my mother's salvation, came to pass. And then he said, Kelly, but I need to do one thing for me. Without thinking, I say, yes. I say, of course, Lord. Right away regret it, because totally did not know what did I get myself into. He said, after here, mean Vegas, you still have one place to move to before you guys go home. Home is Switzerland, because my husband is Swiss. And we did not know then we still will move to other place before we came to Switzerland. He said, after you go home, I want you to focus on feed my sheep in the marketplace. And since we moved back to Switzerland now about nearly 5 years, and that's where God started to push me to have a Christian CEO podcast, and also start to create a Christian CEO University, because there are so many online business group community out there, but we don't have enough that really based on the biblical principle and with kingdom mindset. and to help the Christian entrepreneurs, the CEO to have an environment, as we say moments ago, environment is important, knowledge to move forward. Because a lot of us are operating our business as if they are in the church. Because these two are different. We all know there's seven mountains, right? The business mountain is different than religion's mountain. You cannot have the mindset of how you operate within the walls when you are called in the business and work in the secular world. I mean, there's a funny song, but it's true, right? Think about Joseph. He had to walk like an Egyptian and look like an Egyptian before he was standing in front of Pharaoh to conduct his business. And so that is one of the things that Christian CEO University the mission is to equip, to activate, equip, and empower the Christian entrepreneur to become that CEO that God has called them to, and to really create an profitable and impactful business. We cannot shy away to talk about money, a profit, because we are in business, right? And again, that's a lot of like a mindset we need to unlearn about it, and the resilience and different kind of things that we need to relearn about it. And I always told my members, which I even not official launch yet. We are a small group of people. We have about 20-something people, and I knew that after September we do have a summit coming up, and from there we'll probably launch. But the idea of the university is a platform to raise up the generational leaders. The leaders we want to raise a leader, become a faculty members. It's not Kelly's university, it's God's university, but it's leaders from different fields. They can teach about different things. And I think it's much needed in the marketplace for Christian business owners.
Absolutely. Creating a space where faith-based, service, value-adding entrepreneurs who also want to have a profit and build a successful business. You can do both. And I love
you need both.
We need both. Absolutely. I love that you're creating a space for both to be respected, because I think sometimes when you are value adding, you feel like you should not make any money and you couldn't charge for your services and that kind of thing. And it's just not true. So you're kind of rewiring the money mindset of the community as well. So I love that. Now tell me, how is your relationship with your mother?
It's great nowadays. I wouldn't tell you we are like a super close. That would be a lie. But I would say that, forgiveness happened many years ago, since she accepted Christ. And sometimes when the ugly heads, of those past, not pleasant experience show up, then I will remember how Christ has forgiven me. I have made so many mistakes, and yet I've been showered by His grace and mercy, and therefore that I will extend that to my own mother.
I love that. You are loved, and so you can love well. With boundaries, of course, and it can always be.
Family is not easy, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's powerful to know that not only you have overcome adversity, but you've done it with love, and you've been able to forgive. And of course, it's a journey, and it's not always that flip of the switch. But because you have been able to do so, that's giving other people hope that they can live a life full of love rather than harboring that anger and resentment and that so many people live in. That's no way to live. And when you found Christ, you found that freedom personally, and then you can extend that to others as well. One last question is for those that are aspiring entrepreneurs. They are activated. They feel like they've got a vision. They're excited about what they have, or what maybe the vision of what God has given them, but they're still a bit scared. What would you advise that new entrepreneur to do in that season?
I think back to alignment that we spoke a moment ago, and pretty much is power one. And first of all, you really have a meeting with Jesus. I always say, Jesus is Jewish, he's pretty good at number. So have a business meeting with Jesus, have a meeting with the Lord, and just pour out everything. Just a side note, even you don't pour out, he knows already. So kind of a no-brainer. Talk to him about where you are, be honest about it, and talk about how you feel. I remember those days when I was from a high corporate executive to become a stay-at-home mom. I have those resentment from the starting before I started my business. And all those feelings are real, and we shouldn't ignore it, And so that's just one example. And just be truly honest with the Lord where you are, and ask him, say, okay, what do you want me to do this season? What is a priority of my current season? Whether it's family or maybe it's not, it's time for you to really focus on building your business. And so get that really clear. And from there, then you need to, I would love to say clarity, just like you wake up in the morning, you suddenly just get clarity. That would be awesome, but which that's not true. So you have to surround yourself in a group of people, and then possibly mentors and coaches that really can speak to your heart and understand that where you are, and then so help to guide you through the process to find clarity. And from there, that continue relationship with God. It's I always say we don't have a religion, we just have a relationship with God to solidify that your daily routine, because I think oftentimes we totally underestimate the compound effect of daily little things and overestimate about just do a big thing once in a while. All the high achievers, successful people that we admire, that everybody they were not born disciplined. They just really diligently build up that small action upon small action, become habit, become discipline. And I would say last thing is to give yourself a little bit grace. If you found, I'm sure Dennis' book will help you dramatically. It's no use to dwell in a place, continue beating yourself up. You don't get anywhere. Repent if you need to, but then repent, that word meaning you don't turn back, right? You whatever consequences you're bearing, but you're moving forward. And as my mentor John Maxwell said, that as long as you move forward, then your distance-wise, you're closer to where you want to go. So yeah, I think that would be my 2 cents.
I'm going to set aside business meetings with Jesus. I love that. And it's true. Just creating that space to ask questions and write and journal and kind of brain dump it all. And you'll find that sometimes we have the answers already. We just have to ask for them. So you guys go to kellybaader.com/learn to learn more about Kelly and her programs. And, I think it's important that we're intentional about putting ourselves in a place where we're surrounded with dreamers, with doers who can speak that life into us, who've been where we are and are 3 steps ahead. And Kelly, thank you for creating that space for us. So again, thank you for your wisdom and your time today. And you guys, all the links for Kelly will be in the show notes below.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. I want to hear your aha moment from today's amazing episode. If you could leave a review at whatever podcast player you choose to listen from, Apple Podcast, Castbox, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're listening from, leave a review and share with us your favorite part of today's episode. Thanks for hanging out, and remember to dream big.